Lovely viewers, you are most welcome to our channel Poetry Online. In this video, I will be presenting to you some of the reasons candidates perform poorly in essay writing. Kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get updates on all our new videos. Once again, let us show you a very interesting discussion. Get ready for this lesson. Some of the reasons candidates perform poorly in essay writing include the following. One of them is that most candidates do not use the format or the features of the essay questions they have selected. This is very important. The first thing you have to know is the essay type you have selected. Are you writing a friendly letter? Are you writing a formal letter? Are you writing an article? Are you writing a debate? Or you are writing a story? So once you know the particular essay that you have selected, it is important to use the features or the formats that are associated to that particular essay type. There is something about letter writing that makes it letter writing. There is something about formal letter that makes it a formal letter. There is something about a story that makes it a story. It is not just called a story for nothing. So these formats or these features are the things that every examiner wants to see the moment they pick your paper. For instance, if you have selected a letter writing, the first thing the examiner wants to see is, has the candidate been able to use the features of that particular question to answer the question that he has chosen? If the answer is yes, great job. However, when it comes to work examination, most examiners complain that candidates are not able to use the features of the questions they have selected. So if you are writing a friendly letter, we expect to see your address or the writer's address. Then we see your salutation. Your salutation should not be dear sir or madam. When it comes to a friendly letter, then we expect you to have an introductory statement. We then expect you to write a title. So when you start with the introductory statement, it should be chatty and conversational. Then you move to the body, then conclusion, then you sign off. That is how a friendly letter is supposed to look like. When it comes to a formal letter, we expect to see two addresses. That is your address and the recipient's address. Then we move to the salutation, dear sir or madam. But in some cases, the question will specify to you if you're writing to a male or female. So in that case, you cannot write dear sir or madam. For instance, if the question is, write a letter to your headmaster, we expect to see dear sir. If you're writing to the headmistress, we expect to see dear madam. Do not go and write dear sir or madam when the question has already specified the person you're writing the letter to. So the thing is that we expect to see an introduction after that. After you write your title, you underline this neatly. It is up to you to decide whether you're going to capitalize everything in the title or to capitalize only the content words. So we always advise candidates to capitalize the whole thing and underline it neatly. Sometimes you tell them capitalize the content words and they end up capitalizing words that are not even content words. So in addition to what I have just said, it is important to use the format or the features of the question that you have selected. This will help you in answering the question. Once you read a question, write a letter to your friend. It should come to your mind that this is a friendly letter. If you're writing a letter to the headmaster, the principal, or you're writing to the DCE or the president, it should come to you that this is a formal letter. And once you identify the letter type, you ask yourself, what are the features that are involved in writing a friendly letter, or the features that are involved in writing a formal letter, or the features that are involved in writing an essay, a debate, or a story. This is very important. Another thing that candidates do which is wrong is the inability to suit the demands of the question. It is very important to note that the question or the command words of the question is key. It is not necessarily about writing a friendly letter or writing a formal letter or writing an article or the letter to the editor. It is not just about writing that. The most important thing is to be able to suit the demands of the question. So once you have taken the question, is the question telling you to write on causes, or the question is telling you to write on effects, or it's asking you to describe a situation. So once you know what the question is talking about, it becomes easier for you to be able to suit the demands of the question. And also, you have to check, where does the question place emphasis on? For instance, in some questions, it will tell you to write on causes and effects. So is the question placing more emphasis on the causes, or they are placing more emphasis on the effects? or the question is placing equal weight on both sides. So it is important to suit the demands of the question or to suit every aspect of the question. When it is about writing causes and effects, and you decide to write only causes, you will lose out marks for the effect. Or you decide to write only effects without causes, you will equally lose marks. So it's important for you to take your time, read the question, understand what you're expected to do so that you can be able to efficiently and effectively suit the demands of the question. The next thing I'll talk about has to do with lazy responses. This is something that most candidates do. When it comes to essay writing, lazy responses are not needed. One thing I always say is that, as for the point, the candidates will mention them. It is now left to the explanation. So it is important to first start your paragraph with a topic sentence. So once you start with a topic sentence, the examiner knows that, all right, this is the point the candidate wants to explain. For instance, if the question is about road accidents, the causes of road accidents, and you write 1. Road accidents is caused by the recklessness of drivers. So we expect to see the explanation to that. How does recklessness on the part of drivers cause road accidents? So you have to be able to explain. But over the years, examiners have complained that candidates are able to write a point, but explanation becomes something that is difficult for them. Some will just write 2, 3, 4, 5 lines and they are done with their essays. How do you expect to make a good grade when you write such an essay? In an essay where you're supposed to write about 450 words and you write half a page, how do you make a good score? So lazy responses are not needed in essay writing, or essay writing is not a place for lazy responses. Another thing that I have to let you know is that whenever you're presenting your ideas, always bear in mind that at that moment you are the one teaching the examiner. So it is important for your points to be very relevant, important, systematic, and logical. It should make sense. And you should write out everything that will make the examiner understand what you're trying to explain. Do not assume that the examiner knows. The thing is that no examiner will make any effort whatsoever to correct you or assume what you're trying to explain, even though in some cases they know that this is what the student is trying to say, but they are not going to assume. They mark only what you have written down. Therefore, lazy responses should be avoided. Another thing that I'm going to talk about is the inability of candidates to efficiently and effectively demonstrate familiarity of the particular essay type they have selected. So, when you select a friendly letter, you have to demonstrate familiarity. When you select an article, a debate, or a story, you have to do the same. So, in a friendly letter, we expect your tone and language to be very friendly, very chatty, and very conversational. We expect the candidate to use contracted expressions. We expect you to use certain jargons. But mind you, in using these jargons, do not overuse them. Once you overuse them, the examiner might not understand what you're writing. And it's important for you to know that even though in the examination, the letter, it is stated that you're writing the letter to your friend, it is the examiner who is going to mark and score you. So his understanding will be what will be used to score you. So the more the examiner understands what you have written, the more marks you're going to get. If you throw the examiner off by the complexity of your jargons, he is not going to understand what you're writing, and that will cost you your grade. So it is important for you to demonstrate familiarity of the essay type that you have selected. If you're writing a formal letter, we expect the language and the tone to be formal. We expect you to use standard English. We don't expect to see contracted expressions. We don't expect the language or the tone to be conversational or chatty. This is not your friend you're writing a letter to, and we don't expect you to be asking of the well-being of the person. How are you, sir? How is the office? How is work? All those things are not needed. So you have to understand that this is the essay type I've selected and demonstrate sufficient familiarity with the essay type that you have selected. This is very important. Another thing that causes candidates their grades is a haphazard presentation of points or their ideas. In examination, it is not just about writing or knowing the ideas, but how well you present them is very important. The thing is that whenever you're marking papers, you realize that all the candidates, almost all of them understand the question, almost all of them are able to list the points, but the important thing is the presentation. The presentation is key. As for road accident, everybody knows that recklessness causes road accident. But how do you present that point to the admiration of the examiner? So in every essay, when you take it, quite apart from the features, we expect to see that your essay should have an introduction, and this introduction should be something that should be catchy, it should be interesting, it should tell the examiner what is expected in the body. So the introduction will set the tone for the body. Then when we get to the body, we expect you not to write less than 3 paragraphs. So we expect to see at least 4, 5 paragraphs. So you have to develop your ideas fully. Then we expect to see a conclusion. This is very important. It doesn't matter the essay type you're writing. All these things are very important. And your ideas should be systematic, logical, and cogent. It should have a relation to do with the question that you're answering. This is very important. You can't steal the demands of the question if you continue writing or circling about without hitting the main point. So it is important for you to present your ideas in a systematic and logical manner. Mind you, whenever you're starting your essay, start with a topic sentence. There are so many ways to let the examiner know that you're starting a new point. To begin with, firstly, secondly, to set the ball rolling. In addition to that, furthermore, so all these things we expect to see them in your letter. The connective should be there to give life to your essay. Other than that, your essay is going to be very boring. The person reading might not even understand what you're writing. He's just reading, but you don't even know what you're doing. So you have to let the examiner know that, firstly, road accidents are caused by recklessness. Or how does recklessness on the part of drivers lead to accidents? Then you start road accident, blah 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 blah. It does this and does that, and when drivers do this and they do that, this and this and that happen, and at the end of the day, it ends up in an accident. Fine, that is it. The mistake that most candidates make is that they do not write a topic sentence, which is very important. Once you don't have the topic sentence, the question is, what are you explaining? Road accident is caused by recklessness. Then you just start, drivers sometimes drive by heart and they do this and they do that and do that. At the end of the day, it leads to an accident. Then people are like, what have you explained? That is the most important thing. So your topic sentence should be there and your explanation should have a connection to do with the topic sentence. The thing with candidates is that they're able to write a topic sentence, but explaining the topic sentence becomes a problem. Sometimes in giving examples, they end up deviating. So it is very important for you to understand exactly what you're writing so that you can present your ideas effectively and efficiently. Then again, another mistake candidates make when it comes to essay writing has to do with confusing one essay type for the other. Whenever you're marking papers, you realize that sometimes the candidate might be writing a friendly letter, and once you read it, you realize that it is rather a formal letter the person is writing, or the person is writing a formal letter, or when you read it, you realize that it is rather a friendly letter the person is writing. This is wrong. You have to understand the various formats and features that comes with the various essay types. So that when you're writing, you know that this is for friendly letter, this is supposed to be in a formal letter, this is not supposed to be here, or this is not supposed to be there. This is very important. One of the mistakes that candidates make is that they try to memorize a particular essay type, and this is very wrong. You know that in the examination, letter writing is definitely going to come. It's either you write a friendly letter, or you write a formal letter, or a story, an article, or a narrative essay. So it is important for you to spend time and learn the features and the formats of all these essay types so that when you go to the examination hall, you can be able to select whatever you want and answer it. I know students who are like, for me, I'm going to write a friendly letter no matter what, or for me, I'm a formal letter type of person, for me, I'm going to write article, for me, I'm going to write a story, and they have preconditioned their mind that this is what they're going to write. But there are instances that you enter the examination hall, and once you read a question, you realize that you can answer it. But because they have memorized or they have mastered that particular essay type, they try to answer the question irrespective of their inability to understand or to answer it. It is not just about writing, but how well are you writing? So the worst thing you can do is to load your essay with unnecessary things or irrelevant ideas only to waste the time of the examiner. This is time wasting because no examiner wants to see a candidate writing things that are so irrelevant, things that are out of the box, things that have nothing to do with the question. So it's important for you to understand the essay type you're writing and the features that comes with that particular essay type. Another thing that examiners complain about is candidates using unfamiliar approaches and writing essay questions. It is very important to follow the advice of your teachers. Your teachers will not lead you astray. When they tell you do this, it is important to do that. Most of them are the same people marking the papers or the white papers, so they know what is entailed in the marking scheme and they know exactly what you're required to do and what you're not supposed to do. So using unfamiliar approaches sometimes can be very dangerous. Once you're writing a friendly letter, everybody knows that a friendly letter should have this, it should have that, it should have that. So once you write something that is not conventional for friendly letter, you have yourself to blame. So do not use unfamiliar approaches. Don't try to stand out in places that standing out is not necessary. It doesn't matter if the entire school is writing a friendly letter. The thing is that your points are going to be different and your explanations are going to be different and your language will equally be different. So there's nothing like a copy work in that particular aspect in essay writing. The moment you copy, the examiner knows that this is a copy work because all the ideas will run through all the papers and everybody will have the same point, the same explanation and everything. But once you're doing a genuine work, it is going to show. So don't worry about people writing everybody answering a friendly letter. You decide, okay, I want to deviate from the crowd, and you go and pick a question you can't do. And mind you, nobody is going to award you an extra mark for trying a difficult question. In writing examination, marks are not awarded to candidates for trying questions. Marks are awarded to candidates for fully answering the particular questions that are set. So it's important for you to use familiar approaches when answering questions. Another thing that candidates do, which is wrong, is their inability to use the right language to communicate their ideas. As I said earlier, as for the points, candidates will write them, but explaining them becomes a challenge. This is English language, remember. So every word you use in the essay is very important. So it's important for you to make your essays very logical, very systematic, very cogent. Essay writing in WAEC heavily depends on the creativity of candidates. So you have to be creative enough to put yourself in a particular situation and answer the question accordingly. So when you're asked to write a question, oh, me, I've never been in such a situation, how can I write that? No. We want you to put yourself in that situation and create something out of that. This will demonstrate to us that indeed this candidate is competent when it comes to writing. So it is the writing skills that is going to be assessed here. So it is important for you to communicate your ideas effectively and efficiently. Anything that has nothing to do with a question or that doesn't help you in answering the question should be deleted. Don't write things for the fun of them. No examiner appreciates that. Actually, they really irritate examiners when very important ideas are lost in the midst of irrelevant narratives. So it is important for you to use the appropriate vocabulary or the appropriate words to communicate your ideas. This is very, very important. This is English language, remember. Everything you write counts. So another mistake that candidates make when it comes to our WAEC examination has to do with grammatical errors. And these grammatical errors sometimes occur as a result of candidates trying to translate from their mother tongue to English, which sometimes makes the statement or whatever they're writing wrong. So sometimes the examiner knows that, okay, this is what the candidate intends to write, but in that case it is wrong and they can't pardon you. They have to rule it out or they have to underline a particular aspect. And the worst thing you can do is to get zero in mechanical accuracy. The more mistakes you make in terms of your spellings, at the end of the day, you will end up getting zero in mechanical accuracy. You might lose out on 10 marks. So it is important for you to make sure that your answers are free from errors of grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Sometimes you read the script of a candidate and you realize that a candidate has written an entire essay without punctuation marks or they abuse punctuation marks. So in writing your friendly letter, when you ask a question, how are you doing? We're supposed to see a question mark instead of a full stop. When you say something like, oh, you expect to see an exclamation mark. Do not abuse punctuation marks. If you use a punctuation mark where there's not supposed to be one, it is going to be circled and marks are going to be subtracted for that. So it's important for you to make sure that you use punctuation marks effectively and efficiently. This is very important. And sometimes you realize that candidates are in a hurry to finish the essay As a result, they just end up writing anything and they don't even go back to read their work to see if they have made a mistake so that they can correct it. They just write, and that is what is important for them. Just writing, 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 writing. Just like secretaries, so just writing, you don't care how the whole thing turns out to be. So once you are done writing, you have to proofread your essay to make sure that it is free from errors of grammar and punctuation. And mind you, punctuations are very important. So once you punctuate your essay efficiently, the examiner is able to put himself in your shoes and read it the way you have written it. But once the punctuations are not there or they are badly or poorly used, it becomes difficult for the examiner to read your essay. The examiner will just be reading, but there will be no understanding because he doesn't know what he's even reading. So it's important for you to make sure that your essay is free from errors of grammar and punctuation. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the use of unnecessary attention grabbers. Candidates, when you want to impress an examiner, impress the examiner with the quality of your work and not through unnecessary attention grabbers. So sometimes you see candidates trying to bolden things in order to make them stand out. This is wrong. Do not bolden the title of your work. Just write it and underline it. Every examiner knows that this is the title. What will impress the examiner is how captivating that title is and not how deep you have boldened it or something. No, those things are not needed. Using very complex vocabularies. Most candidates are actually malapropists. They just use words for the fun of them. The words might not necessarily be helping them to see the demands of the question. They're just using them because they want to use them. And sometimes they use unnecessary proverbs, unnecessary jargons, or idiomatic expressions. It is important to use them because those ones will give life to your essay, but once you abuse them or you overuse them, they lose its importance or it diminishes the importance or the impact those things have on the essay. So it's very important for you to impress the examiner by the quality of your responses or the quality of your work or your presentation and not through unnecessary attention grabbers. And also, do not just write bulky things. Qualitative essays are better than quantitative essays. Sometimes these candidates will come out and be like, this paper, dear, I just wrote, it is not about writing, writing is not what is necessary. What is important is how relevant what you have written is, how important is it systematic, is it chronological, is it logical, does it make sense? All those things are very important and they are considered vital when scoring candidates. Thanks for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. So we'll meet again on YouTube. Bye bye.